EVE Online's new Exordium starter space was opened up today, accessible through the Manifest Stargate in Ulai. For anyone behind on this news, Exordium is designed as a completely safe region where new players can go through the tutorial experience and then experiment with EVE's sandbox content without the usual risks involved in the rest of New Eden. Fenris Creations have gone to great lengths to ensure the space is truly safe from interference no matter the circumstances. Your safety setting is locked to green, there is no combat eligibility granted by HiSec war declarations or faction warfare alignment, no duels, and no kill right activations. If you've already done something on the Ulai side that would make you combat eligible, going criminal or suspect for example, you won't be able to jump through the gate to Manifest until this timer expires. If your home station is set within Exordium and you still have one of these timers, it will prevent you from undocking completely. Now naturally, this being EVE Online, it took less than an hour for someone to find a way to PvP anyway, but I won't rag on FC too much for that. With EVE's spaghetti code, I'm not really surprised that someone will find an exception where the rule isn't quite working right. Here's hoping it gets patched pretty quickly. The devs have been clear that the space is still a work in progress, so new players aren't actually starting their journey in Exordium just yet. We'll have to wait until Cradle of War releases on June 9th for that switch to be made. As well as preventing PvP, FC are doing their best to ensure this space doesn't end up with any de facto control by player organizations either. Upwell structures, deployables, and anchored containers are all prohibited in Exordium and cannot be placed. Players will instead be expected to interact with the NPC stations for all their necessary services. I would actually love to see some NPC-run Upwell structures just so that new players get the opportunity to learn what each one is for. Looking for an NPC station with manufacturing or reprocessing is fine, but not really super indicative of how gameplay is going to be once you actually leave Exordium and hopefully join a corporation. We now know in much more detail how the region is going to be balanced to avoid becoming a safe crabbing environment for existing players, rather than primarily focused at being a learning experience for new ones. Mission ISK rewards, LP rewards, and NPC bounties will be 20% lower than standard HiSec space from other game regions, and there'll be an extra 5% fee added on top of non-instant market orders and industrial installation costs for manufacturing, ME research, TE research, and invention. As well as flat percentage decreases, ores in Exordium are a grade 0 variant with lower yields than usual, exploration sites have lower value loot tables, and homefront operations are both easier and lower paying. Now I really want to get into a rant about this now, but I'll hold off just a moment longer because it's also important to keep in mind that the actual content you can access isn't identical to regular HiSec either. For now, you can encounter level 1 and 2 security and mining agents, Sisters of Eve agents, and Paragon agents, so this means level 3 and 4 missions are absent. Then in terms of anomaly and non-mission content, we have mining sites, combat anomalies, cooperative objective-based encounters, it'll be interesting to see what that actually means, Empire mining belts, pirate hideaways, rogue drone combat sites, metaliminal meteoroid encounters, emergency aid encounters, relic sites, and data sites. To be completely honest, I don't think that 20% bounty and reward reduction is enough. But I don't think it's an economic concern or about to cause a mass migration of HiSec players into Exordium. I just think that it's a bit on the low side, to be honest. I recently asked you guys in a poll the kind of ISK per hour you're making in HiSec, and one thing made very clear by that is that the majority of my viewers are not doing the highest level HiSec content. Not saying that judgmentally, everyone should be doing the content they enjoy, but it goes to show that people do stick to the low income content for quite a long time in this game sometimes. With that in mind, I do think that when presented with the option to make 20% less money, but on the flip side, get to completely DPS fit their ships with no worry about gank tank or anything like that, there will be people sticking around in Exordium for longer than is really intended. If it were me, I'd have honestly made this nerf 50% or higher. In my mind, the purpose of the content in this space shouldn't be to make ISK at all, but instead should be focused on learning the mechanics. To be fair though, there's plenty of time for FC to watch how the community interacts with this new space and tweak as necessary. The benefit of content aimed at new players is that you can make frequent adjustments without disrupting anyone's playstyle. But I'd really like to hear what some of you guys watching think, since it's been a good few years since I was playing in HiSec. Is a 20% reduction of income and these site limitations sufficient to disincentivize the space just becoming a new region for crabbing? Let me know in the comments. As for the market and industry extra 5% fee, I think that's fine. So much of any adjustment to the meta of market and industry gameplay is disincentivized simply because of economic inertia. As long as these fees are just a few percent, that'll be more than sufficient to ensure that existing market and industry hubs in other regions are unaffected by the introduction of Exordium. Speaking of trade hubs, the Manifest system that you first enter when coming into the region from Yulai is designed as a central hub for the whole region, and within this system is the Air Laboratories Trade Center. I'm sure we'll see a burgeoning Nubro-focused market crop up here, but to be honest, that's not much different to what we already see in the existing starter systems prior to Exordium's introduction. The station is currently visually under construction to symbolize Exordium's work-in-progress state, but despite this, you can still dock there and the market is already functioning and online. I'm sure some of the more market trade focused creators in the EVE Online space will be watching this market very closely to see what, if any, effect the Manifest Trade Hub has on the rest of the game's economy. It's worth keeping in mind, of course, that along with Exordium's deployment comes some overall tweaking to how security classes work across New Eden. All previously 1.0 systems have been reduced to 0.9, while Exordium will uniquely use the 1.0 security class to denote systems where all forms of PvP are prevented. This isn't really going to have any tangible impact on the game, other than some adjustments in how we educate new players on the meaning of each security class. Thankfully, FC have added some quality of life features to help with just that. Depending on your location in New Eden, you can now hover over your security class to see a tooltip which explains the protections in place in your current system, if any. Within these tooltips, there's a helpful link to the in-game map where a new setting has been added to allow you to filter systems by their security tier. I would say these are long overdue features honestly, but it's better late than never. I remember, especially when I lived in low-sec, how many new players would come in from high-sec with absolutely no idea how monumentally different the space they just jumped into actually was, despite a comparatively small difference in the security class number. Granted, they still had a massive pop-up to warn them that they were jumping into somewhere dangerous, so this is still not going to stop a lot of people getting a rather violent introduction to low-sec or null-sec. But hopefully it goes some way to helping players actually understand where they went wrong. I took a look around Exordium myself today, and aside from the excitement of the rare opportunity to explore so much brand new space, I have to say that the embassy constellations representing each empire have some absolutely gorgeous stations. Flying around here, especially knowing how prominent Empire military campaigns are about to become, makes me genuinely jealous of people experiencing EVE for the first time this summer. The Empire-managed ore belts are also a pretty sight, with gate limitations prohibiting access to only mining frigates and corvettes. I love this because it doesn't matter how bad the ISK is, if there's one thing I've learned about EVE over the last 4 years, it's that some guy multiboxing 25 hulks will still come and demolish every mining belt if they're given the chance. You can also see the under-construction shipcasters in each of the Empire's constellations, ultimately intended to optionally throw new bros directly into faction warfare to get a taste of some PvP once they've completed the new player experience. For more information about some of the new faction warfare content coming in the Cradle of War expansion, I recommend taking a look at my other video where I go into a bit more detail. Anyway, that was just a quick video today, guys. I am working on 2 in-depth videos right now separately, but I want to make sure people are keeping up to date considering there's so much going on in EVE right now. I do think we'll see a bit of a lull in updates or patch activity between now and the expansion though, so we've still got a good few weeks to be at each other's throats in Reddit as usual before someone actually gets proved right or wrong. If you want to help support the channel, consider buying your next EVE Online pack, subscription, or Plex from marqueedragon.com using the link in the video description. Use coupon code BILL at checkout for 3% off your order. I've also got YouTube membership enabled now. It's 99 cents, and for that you'll get access to my monthly video where I go through some of the interesting comments for each month, more of an unscripted rant if I'm honest, and I'm sure I'll have more casual unscripted content available for members too, as and when the mood arises. I really appreciate everyone that already signed up, as it's all helped me invest in the software and hardware I need to keep making better videos.